Good evening and welcome to my workshop, my model workshop here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Tonight we're going to talk about T-gauge. If you've not heard of T-gauge before, oh, I got some super glue in my hand. T-gauge is an extremely small model railroading gauge. It's 1 to 450th scale, which Z scale is 1 to 220. So it's roughly half the size of Z scale. The trains are extremely small. It only really came out, I think, around 2007, 2008. There's a company in Japan that makes it. They might have a patent on it because I don't think anybody else makes it. So it's manufactured by Ishindu of Japan. And you can find it on tgauge.com. It looks like, or tgauge.com is actually a British in Edinburgh, Scotland, which is where I bought this from, that distributes T-gauge. You can find it online probably too. I bought this around 2013, 14. It had only been out a few years, I guess, about 6 years. I saw it somewhere. I don't know if I saw it online or if I saw it in a magazine, and I thought, kind of cool, interesting. And this is the set. This is the complete set. Back then, this was, I think it was in pounds, and I looked it up, and it might have been around $200. And now the same set is $300 or so, like $320. This is a British Rails Intercity 125. It's not an American prototype, obviously. The British ran, I guess, their intercity trains. They had locomotives at each end and then coaches between. This comes with 2 locomotives, 2 coaches, an oval track, the controller, a bunch of like other stuff. Like the controller is battery powered. It takes 3 AA batteries. There's a track cleaner, wheel cleaner, re-railer, which I didn't even know until about a week ago that I had one of these. So when my son looked these up online and said, they came with a re-railer, and I said, oh great, I've been literally spending 15 to 20 minutes with tweezers and a magnifying visor putting these trains on the tracks every time I want to run them. So that would have been nice to know. And a few other things. It actually has 2 sensors, so you can have the train stop and reverse itself. Like some cleaning things. It's a small oval of track. Believe it or not, the locomotives have directional lighting. I'm not sure how that is possible or how it's wired. If it's going forward, there's white lights on the front end of the train and red lights on the rear, dual red lights, dual white lights. And then if you reverse a train, the lights change color. They do make American prototypes of this now. So if you're interested they do have starter sets even. I believe they have American starter sets, although you might have to buy the locomotive separate. I'm not sure. I think they had a Canadian National F unit, some kind of GP something, GP18, I think they sell GB10. They also sell just power units too, so you can get it without the shell. And you can find some shells and things online, a lot for free, I think, on like Thingiverse, and you can 3D print your own shell. They make freight cars, American freight cars now for it. So there is an American prototype. I'm probably not going to bother as long as this keeps running fine, because it's only just a small oval track. And what I did when I bought it was I put the oval track together, and I figured, okay, I need a board to put it on. And the board, I think, is 12 by 16 or 12 by 18. Can't remember if it's 18 or 16, but it takes up a very small space. And I glued it to a board, the track, and I would bring it to when I had open houses in my model railroad in my basement. And I had people, we would host open houses during NMRA division meets. So we'd have people in, and I'd have it set up in the corner running. And then when I joined my O-Scale 2-Rail Club, the Cherry Valley Club in Merchantville, New Jersey, I would bring it to the open houses. In fact, it will probably be at an open house there in mid-January. If you're in the New Jersey area, I've been bringing it to my HO club I belong to, which is about 2 hours away from the New Jersey club in Bowmanstown, Pennsylvania, the Carbon Model Railroad Society. And they're in Bowmanstown, New Jersey. They have an open house. It's been at the last 3 open houses for the last 3 weekends, and then they have an open house the weekend after New Year's. So I think it's the 3rd or the 4th, or both those dates. It's a Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 4 o'clock. So if you're interested in seeing it and you're in the Northeast Pennsylvania area, it's there. What I did, so for years it was on this board, and I just brought it around, and then I hadn't brought it over to the Carbon Model Railroad Club, and I said, well, I should bring that out to the open house. It'd be interesting to have it running there. And then I started looking, and I said, well, people are interested in it even when it's glued to the board, but it really, I've been meaning for years to dress it up a little bit. Make some scenery. Now, I might have gone a little overboard, which is what I normally do with anything, or as my wife says, anything that doesn't involve making money, like an occupation. I go above and beyond. I decided, it started out like, throw a couple buildings down, throw some scenery on, and then I said, well, it'd be nice if it had like a kind of a backdrop, a sky backdrop, and maybe a mountain, and then how about a valance across the top with some lighting. I can't remember, it's on a YouTube channel that I actually subscribe to. It's I believe it's a British model railroader. He builds these little layouts, and he does these valances, and I kind of got the idea of the valance from him, because it's actually not, I would have built it probably square to match the base of the railroad, but he actually curves his valance on the one corner, and I thought that looked kind of cool. That was a neat little feature. So I built one similar to what he did. So without rambling on here as I normally do, we're going to get into some narration and pictures of me building or dressing up the railroad. All the buildings on it are 3D printed. They were all free online. Some of them were T gauge or T scale, but a lot were like N scale or Z scale. It might even been 1 HO scale. And the great thing with 3D printing is you can use in your slicing program, you can rescale everything. I'm just dumping this out real quick to give you an idea. This is the entire train is in here. You got the 2 locomotives, the 2 passenger cars. That is actually a replacement coupler. Lord help me if I ever have to replace that thing. I'm not even, I don't even know. This is the track wheel cleaner. The wheels do get extremely dirty. They're steel wheels, and they have magnets, believe it or not, in the train to help keep help the train track really well. It tracks really well. It's been running flawlessly. It hasn't fallen off the tracks at the open houses. We've done 3 open houses. There are 3 hours apiece, or 3 weekend open houses. So that's 6 days, 3 hours apiece, 18 hours. I changed the battery near the end of the first day, the batteries. So it's been running 5 days on the same batteries. So that's 15 hours. I actually turn it on before the show starts. So probably more like 16 to 17 hours on 3 AA batteries. The layout's been running. This is like a track cleaning thing. And these are the sensors that you plug into the controller. This is actually the original receipt. Yeah, it was 145 pounds when I bought it in 2015, actually. Yeah, It's I don't think the exchange rate might have been a $1.50 to a pound back then, but it's a neat little set. It's a lot of fun. You could set it up anywhere. You could set it up at your desk at work, and watch the trains going around all day. And you can really get crazy with it. It's fairly popular. I assume it's popular in Japan because that's where it came from. But in England and Scotland, it's I believe fairly popular because if you watch any YouTube of English model railroaders or read their magazines, which I do often, they are definitely more limited in space than American model railroaders are. Their houses are smaller overall. It looks like they don't have a lot of them. The houses don't have basements. It seems like a lot of the layouts seem to be in attics or really tiny spaces. So they actually make great use of smaller spaces, and I almost think that it allows you to focus more on the scenery. Their layouts seem to be have a lot more well done scenery than American layouts overall. Most American layouts, including me, I'm guilty of this, tend to remain unfinished for many years. So without ado, as I said like 10 minutes ago, we're going to get into the rest of the video on building the layout. Thanks for watching, and we'll move on with the actual construction. Take care. Okay, so here you can see the original layout. It was just some half-inch MDF. I think it might have been 2 or 3 layers. I glued up, I put an edge around it, glued down the oval track. The gray primer is newer. It was just basically bare MDF and like some kind of poplar edging for a while. And then when I started this back in, I don't know, I think I started it in the summer. I just started playing around with it, but I really got going on it after Timonium in late October. But you can see I'm kind of putting buildings down. I found these buildings all online for free, downloaded them, 3D printed them. Most of these buildings that you see were printed with an FDM filament printer, and my son shamed me into reprinting them all in resin because of the quality of the print. So I did do that. And what I would do is it just getting the configuration with the buildings I had to scale most of them down. There were a few T-scale structures I did find online, but just scaling everything down, fitting it in place, and getting it to look right just took a lot of playing around. It's fun, like a puzzle. It was fun laying it out and envisioning a little city there. And if you take time with something like this, I think it works out in the end and it comes out good. Don't rush it because you need to kind of visualize everything. So this was actually one of the earlier alignments that changed after this. I added like a hill and a tunnel behind the city. And like I said, I replaced the buildings with resin printed structures. So you can see a lot of little resin stuff. When you shrink resin down this small, a lot of the prints failed just because it got so thin, the walls got so thin that they just fell apart. Like those 18-wheelers, the wheels fell apart. I mean, the wheels are smaller than a pinhead. That's actually a Bates Motel that I printed in T-scale. The sign actually came out pretty good. The Bates Psycho Mansion came out fairly good. But the hotel itself, the roof sections got so thin that they kind of warped in, and I guess it would have looked like a rundown hotel, okay, but I don't know. That tractor is not T-scale. That's actually an unknown scale. It was a mistake. I even tried printing some cars out. You could see in front of that Whitcomb. Those are transformers for the power plant. I think I'm showing actually a lot of the O-scale stuff I printed at the same time too. But you can see those are all the waste buildings, and then these are the ones I've been replacing with resin. Kind of still working out the design a little bit. It changed over time. There's a Alpha knife for scale. You can see how small that is against my finger, and how much fun it is to put those trains on the track and couple them together. They're not Katy couplers. You can't just push them together and they couple. You got to lift one up and hook it on. Power plant. I was kind of had an industrial area, then the city, and then like a suburban area in the corner. I did have a McDonald's, but I didn't actually add that to the layout. I don't think I left that off. There's some more structures. Some of those I printed and then I cut sections out of them because they were one big like block lot. And now I'm starting to put some scenery down. I taped the track up. I added all those roads in there, which are all like kind of just laser cut sections for the buildings to sit on and the roads, and took my time piecing them all in. Again, it's T scale. It's 1 to 450 scale. There's a limit on what I'm capable of doing. That's small. I could have probably spent a little bit more time on it, but it's just for fun. And there's I got to be careful about rivet counting in T scale and 1/450th scale. I did change the hill. Originally, the Psycho Mansion was going to go up on the hill in the hotel, but then I decided to make it kind of like a mine, coal mine. I found that online. That's probably like a gold mine, but who knows? They're similar. The head houses or head frames are similar structures, except it probably wouldn't have been wood. So I added that to the hill, and then I added like the miners' houses, which I think were N scale maybe, and they printed pretty nicely. They didn't print that well with filament, but they printed better with resin, although they were still kind of thin, some of the sections. So, and that's removable in case the train falls off the tracks, or that I figured I needed to make that tunnel removable because there's no way to get to that. It's a piece of foam, and I actually carved out, I just pressed it onto the tracks and then carved out where the tracks went, like a kind of a pathway for the train. There's the Psycho Mansion. Like I said, that came out pretty decent. That's the earlier hospital. I actually thought that came out too small. Some of the buildings I don't think are really drawn in scale that well. So I made that a little taller. There's the Bates Hotel, and you can see the roof. When it gets that thin, the roof just collapses because it's so thin and it's liquid resin. Now you can see the hill in place with train running, testing the layout out, scenery down. I don't think I've added trees yet. I did go back and add a few trees and a couple other little things. Oh, the cars aren't on the layout, I don't think. Maybe just a fire truck, but I haven't added the vehicles. So you can see I put some pegs on the back there for alignment to get that tunnel on, so the train doesn't run into it. And you can kind of get a overview of the city. I did put lines on the street. I think I used a paint pen for them and just a ruler. They're probably 2 feet wide in scale or something, but you get the effect. Hospital, firehouse, church, train station, train tower, power plant, fuel tanks, all kinds of stuff. So then I built this kind of valance thing to hide it. I saw this online. I wish I could remember the fellow's name. He's a British modeler. He built a similar thing. He actually had a cover that fit over the whole thing, and the cover acted as the stand, which is a great idea. I may go back and do that. I just didn't have time for that. But it's kind of like a box, and then the box becomes a pedestal for it. So it's kind of a cool idea. But I got that curved idea for the valance from him. I like that a lot. It's built mostly out of like 1/2-inch plywood and birch plywood. And the wood, the bent wood, is actually, I think, a piece of poplar that I cut really thin and just curved it around with wood glue and clamps. There you can see the back. I had to pull the wires through. I created a little pocket for the transformer up top. The LED lighting is just your standard under cabinet, like LED strips, the kind that's self-adhesive that you tape up. I did get a battery-operated strip off of Amazon, and I wasn't happy with it. It was very dim. So I ended up using a plug-in one like I'm used to using a 120-volt one. So I get a good amount of lighting in there so you can see the whole scene. but the battery one, just the LEDs aren't LEDs if you buy them online. You got to look at things really carefully with that. So live and learn. I'll use it for something else. So you can see how nice it is with it all lit up like that. This is at the Carbon Model Railroad Society at the open houses that I brought it to. And we put it up on top of a little display case we have near the front door. And it was on display, and everybody thought it was kind of neat. And, a lot of people had never heard of T-scale. And I'm glad I made the effort to fully scenic it and get a finished structure. I laser cut a nameplate. I called it Tinytropolis, and that's what that sign says: Tinytropolis, a T-scale layout. That's for scale and iPhone. That's my wife taking a picture of it. My wife likes dollhouses, and she's claimed this layout for her own. So after I'm done exhibiting it, it somehow becomes her possession. I'm not sure what she's going to do with it, but she was checking it out for the first time, and I think she was FaceTiming my son. That's why the phone's up there. But I kept the picture because I took the picture because it's good for scale. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some more videos, probably on 3D printed O-scale cars. Take care.